Hello and welcome to the Happy Families Podcast. This is Dr. Justin Coulson. Last week, had a conversation on Monday with Dr. Amantha Imber from the How I Work podcast and her business Inventium. It's a great collaboration, and today we're going to continue the collaboration with another conversation. This one is all about work-life balance.
More and more, we're expected to do it all. Like be available for late night conference calls for work, take our kids to all the different sporting activities and extracurricular things that they have, and also somehow find time for ourselves and some self-care. Justin, is this something that you struggle with? You've got like 200 kids or something like that at home.
And counting, I know. I don't know. I don't know how we do it all. There is so much for us to do, and we often feel like we're running faster than we have strength. I remember when everyone shut down because of COVID. Some people remember it better than others because of it kind of depends on where you are. But Amantha, do you remember the things that people were saying during COVID about how the lockdown had changed our perspective? It's changed our mind about how much we try to cram into our lives and how we balance our lives. I spoke to so many people who said, when we open up again, life is never going to go back to normal. I'm going to keep things quiet. I'm going to keep things connected. We're going to stay together as a family. And it didn't work. We opened up, and within 2 or 3 weeks, everyone was like, I need to sign up for this. We've got to do all of that. And we're trying to get life going, and we're also trying to work and pull it all together. There's so much going on. I mean, you run a really significant business consultancy. You're an author. You've got a tremendously successful podcast. And you've also got a gorgeous little daughter. Surely you're noticing this as well. Do you feel stretched and pulled from pillar to post, or is it just the dads of 6 daughters?
I do feel stretched, and I will say to avoid that feeling of stretchness and when I feel my stress levels rising because I've taken on too much or I'm trying to do too much, the word that I come back to is no. And I have to remind myself to say that more often. I heard this great tip from Professor Katie Milkman when I interviewed her on How I Work. And
I have her book on my shelf just here.
How to Change. Yeah, it's such a great read. Now, something that Katie did, and, you know, as an in-demand academic, author, speaker, she gets a lot of requests made on her time. She formed what she called a no club. So I think particularly women struggle with this, the research would suggest, is women are more likely to say yes to what are called non-promotable activities, particularly in the workplace, like things like taking minutes in a meeting or organizing the work Christmas party, things that are like, you know, the act of a good citizen, but are not going to drive you forward closer to, say, your career goals. And so Katie linked up with some other business school professors. And now when she gets an opportunity presented to her or someone's asking for her time and she instinctively wants to say yes because she wants to help, she takes that to her no club who give her a more objective view on, really, Katie, should you say no to this instead of yes? And I love that idea of a no club.
So this wasn't something that I planned on talking about when we initially discussed this topic, but you sharing Katie Milkman's idea about the no club, as a male, like you said, this may be along gender lines. I've never really had a hard time saying no, and I think that is a bit of I don't know if it's a male privilege thing or just a privilege thing generally, but I'm pretty comfortable with giving a good old-fashioned, not going to fit in the schedule. But Nir Eyal, who wrote that brilliant book, Indistractable, he talks about how at the beginning of the week, if you just sit down and think about what you value the most in terms of who do I want to be in 5 years or 3 years or 6 months or 10 years? Who do I want to be as a parent? Who do I want to be as an employee or an employer or whatever it is? And when I'm scheduling my activities for the week, I need to make sure that I'm putting into my week the things that will help me to be that in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. That's another, I think, maybe a spin on the no club where you can say, okay, if I want to be an author, or if I want to be an entrepreneur, or if I want to just be a damn good mum, what are the 3 things that I have to put into my calendar this week so that I'm doing that today? Because if I'm not doing it today, I'm not going to be good at it in 3 years' time. And for me, it's kind of, I guess, a productivity hack or a time management thing. But not every single week, but most weeks, I schedule a date with my wife. We have that time together. It's got to happen. Friday is our adventure day. In addition to that, most Friday mornings, I schedule a meeting for breakfast with a friend. And it's not really a meeting. It just goes into my diary as a meeting because work-life balance matters. And my friendships matter. And I want to have good friendships in 3 and 5 and 10 years from now. The only way I'll have a good friendship then is if I build the friendship now. And if I have those breakfasts consistently more weeks than not with the handful of people that I really savor time with, that's what builds that. I make sure that I build the fitness stuff in as much as it's inconvenient because I want to be fit and healthy in 3 to 5 to 10 years. And I build in that Super Saturday or that time with the kids, the one-on-one, because I want to be a good dad in 3 or 5 or 10 years.
Now, I don't know about you, Justin, but I occasionally take issue with the idea of work-life balance because it implies in its very nature that work is bad and we need to do less of it, and life is good and we need to do more of it. But for a lot of people, and I know for you and I, we love our work. And so something I find more useful is a strategy, and I call it doing a values audit of your diary, where if you were to literally block out every single activity that you do in your diary, from spending time with the kids to doing a workout at the gym or going for a bike ride in your case, along with all the work activities as well. If someone looked back at the last week or the last month of your diary, would they be able to work out what your main values are? And I think it's an interesting question to pose. Have you ever done anything like this, Justin?
No, but I love it. So what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is if I actually used my diary and accounted for every minute of the day, all those time confetti moments where I stared at Facebook or Instagram rather than connecting with somebody versus the time where I'm at work, the time that I'm sleeping and so on, will somebody see somebody will see what matters most to me, but would that be congruent with what I say matters to me? That's what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly. So, for example, I imagine there is not a parent in the universe that would say, work is more important than my kids. But I would say there are a lot of parents' diaries that you could go into. And if they mapped out how every minute was accounted for, work is creeping into a lot of times when, really, if they were living a life that was congruent with their values, they would probably say, that work thing can wait. I really want to spend some quality time with my child or my kids right now, for example.
Yeah. Amantha, I think there are a lot of people who really love their work, and there are a lot of people who just have a lot of work to do. And shutting off at the end of the day, I mean, I don't, in many ways, this is terrible for me to say it, but in so many ways, I don't want to shut off because I love what I do so much. And because of that, but because I also value my family, I've had to create some specific practical rules to get that work-life balance, to use the term that is a little bit clunky and ugly, and there are some problems with it, but to get that. So I've got a couple of rules, and I don't know if you have any rules like this. One of my rules is I don't walk into the house if I'm on the phone. So as I'm driving home from the office and I'm heading towards my driveway, if I'm on a phone call, which happens a lot, I mean, many of us are in this situation, even if it's a personal call, maybe it's not even a work call. My commitment to my family is when I walk through the front door, they're going to get the best of me. My face is going to light up. I'm going to be attentive to them. I will make them feel seen, heard, and valued. So if I'm on a phone call, I've done this so many times, I just start doing laps of the block. And once I've done about 5 or 6 laps of the block, I'll actually say to the person I'm talking to, I'm on my 6th lap around the block because I have a commitment that I won't walk into the house when I'm on the phone. My family need me. I've loved talking to you, but we've got to wrap this up. And it changes your mindset as you walk in and you've intentionally put that phone away. Oh my goodness, it makes such a difference. I've also established some no work zones. So you can have no work zones in terms of a physical location. So I don't work at specific times and also in specific places in my home. And the reason for that is because I need to be with other people. There are 1 or 2 other things that I might quickly mention, and I'd love to hear yours. I have a commitment that I've made to Kylie since the time we were married, that when I walk past her, I will touch her. And she does the same for me. It's a way of saying, even if we've got heaps going on, the person standing next to me in the mirror brushing her teeth, is a person with hopes and dreams and values and wishes and desires. And just by reaching out and acknowledging the person, by touching them, squeezing the elbow, pinching their bum, giving them a hug, whatever it might be, it says, hey, I see you. You matter to me. I'm noticing, even though we're busy. And my last one for this work-life balance thing that I'm going to mention is the importance of when you take annual leave, setting up your autoresponder and making sure the email hangs in cyberspace and doesn't download and sit in the inbox. Because I love my work and I want to know what's going on and I want to respond to people and get stuff done. And I don't want to come home to 300 emails. And so that's the only way I've been able to do it. I've actually had team members change my passwords so that I can't access my social media and my email, so that I really do zone out and pay attention to my family.
I love that strategy. I've heard that password changing one from Brian Scudamore, who is the co-founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK in America.
Oh, right, wow.
And funnily enough, I'm about to take a little mini break of 5 days, and it's reminded me I need to do something, so I'm gonna keep some balance
I love that.
not be tempted to hop into my email for the next 5 days. Justin, I'm very inspired by the things that you do at home. It's particularly, I like the one about not walking into the home environment with your phone. I think this is applicable no matter who you are, if there's other people in your house. I mean, even if it's just your partner, or if you don't have kids and it's just your flatmates that are there. I think it's really nice that that you have a strategy that reminds you to put human connection first, as opposed to what is happening on a digital device.
I wanted to ask you really quickly, just one question. I know we're out of time, but just briefly, do you have a wrap-up ritual, a way to step away from the office and just be done with it? Or are you a bit like me where you really have to compel yourself to not look at the devices even when you get home?
I do struggle. One ritual that does work for me that I try to use more often than not is, we call it a shutdown ritual at Inventium, my consultancy, and it involves writing 2 simple sentences at the end of the workday to kind of, in the same way that people used to shut down their computer, although no one does that now. It's kind of like shutting down your work for the day. So the 2 things are, I write the sentence, today I made progress on ... This works whether you are employed in a job or whether you're a full-time parent or a full-time student, whatever. Today I made progress on. And this is reminding yourself, what is something that you made meaningful progress towards? There's so much great research, primarily from Professor Teresa Amabile from Harvard, that if we make progress towards things that matter to us, it is a massive driver of engagement and motivation. And then the second thing is I write down, tomorrow will be a great day if I focus on X. And I think about, what is the most important thing that I want to do tomorrow that will make it a great day? It might be a work thing. It might be related to my daughter, Frankie, or it might be related to something completely different that matters to me.
So 2 quick things off the back of that. First of all, I had no idea it was a Amabile. I've been saying it's Teresa Amabile for like the last 15 years. But secondly, I'm hearing you say that in a work context, and I love it. But I also think that it works in a family and home context. Imagine if at about 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or at some point in the afternoon, a mum, a dad grabs out the pen and says, today was a great day because, and they're essentially signing off for the day. Now all I've got to do is get dinner done and we're good. Or maybe they do it after dinner. And then they say, and tomorrow's going to be a great day because, and they get those priorities centered. I don't think that it's just a workplace thing. I love that idea. And I get the sense that it helps us to recognize that we can be productive and have a really nice balance in our lives.
I think it absolutely does. So many applications of it. And I think for a lot of the ideas that we've discussed, and hopefully they will bring a better balance of work and life, or a better mix of the 2 into people's lives.
I love collaborating with people, and I love the conversation that Dr. Amantha Ember and I have just had. The Happy Families podcast for today has been produced by the iHeart Radio Network Australia. Our executive producer is Craig Bruce, and Kylie and I will be back tomorrow on the Happy Families podcast. If you'd like more info about making your family happier, please visit happyfamilies.com.au or check out our Facebook page, Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families.